All right. What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again in New York City as we brace ourselves for Hurricane Isaiah. But on the phone, we got Theo from Ego Kill Talent. Thank you for your time today.
Hey Alex, what's up, man?
It's so awesome to have you here. The newest album is The Dance Between Extremes, which is scheduled to come out later this year. Could these three singles that you released, Now, Life, Porn, and The Call, could that almost serve as like a clear representation of what the whole full-length album is going to sound like?
Yeah, man, for sure. It definitely does represent the whole album. You're gonna find some little, like some more heavy stuff, and also some more mellow stuff in the album. But I feel like it's all in there in these three songs. You know, if you look at it, you have all those aspects already there. You know.
Mm-hmm. So, do you almost need to release the full-length album, or does the dance single, EP almost pretty much say everything you have to say?
Oh man, you know, we always want to release the full length. It's like we can't wait to have it out there. We put so much passion when we were writing and recording it. I just wish there was some tour going on, you know, and we could just represent it live, which unfortunately we can't.
Yeah, that's everywhere in the world right now, sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does this at all maybe have any relationship to the self-titled 2017 release, or is The Dance Between Extremes almost kind of like a new start in a way for Ego Kill Talent?
Well, man, I would say that it's definitely a follow-up from the first album. One thing that we heard a lot when we released the first album is that we have some kind of mix between like more heavy bands and more rock bands, right? Like that you can find some aspects of Metallica, of even Sepultura in it on the tunings and the riffs, but you can also find some melodies that would remind you, I don't know, maybe of Foo Fighters or something. So I would say we have more of both. We are a band who really love both heavy music and pop music. We just love both, right? So I would say in this new album, we went further in both lines. So we have more heavy shit and also more maybe pop harmonies and melodies, and we just love to combine them.
Yeah, well, it's actually funny that you mentioned that because that's what when I first heard Ego Kill Talent, like that was the first thing that came to my mind is like there's heavy parts, there's melodic parts. It's fair to say you guys like to experiment as much as possible, right?
Totally, yeah, absolutely, and we love the challenge of combining both. You know, we think it's a great challenge to embrace. You know, I mean, how can because we deeply like bands such as Gojira and Metallica and Sepultura, which Jan played there for 7 years.
Yep.
We love this kind of music, but we also love as well Phil Collins and Lenny Kravitz, and we feel like, okay, how can we just have aspects of both, so you can feel it in the guitar riffs, you can feel it on the drum grooves and then the melodies and harmonies, as you said. It's just a challenge that we like.
Yeah, and does it ever happen does this happen like on purpose, or is there like a lot of improvising involved, or do you revolve the songwriting around maybe like a preconceived idea?
Yeah, our songwriting it's a crazy process. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but we kind of switch instruments in the band.
Yep.
Basically, because we have two really good drummers, right? And the way that came to happen was when we started the band, Jean, who had just left Sepultura, he called me and he was like, "Let's jam," and then he was a drummer, right? And we didn't have a bassist, we didn't have a bass player, so. At some point, Rafael, who is the other drummer, he listened to some demos, and he was like, "I want to be in the band." And I was like, "Man, we already have a drummer." He said, "I don't care. We don't have a bass player. I can play bass." So he started playing bass, right? And then one day, Jean came, and Jean plays guitar amazingly well. So he came with a very nice guitar riff idea. And he just grabbed my guitar, and he said, "How do you guys like this?" And then we were like, "Rafa, can you go to the drums real quick just so we can see how it sounds, how it vibes with drums?" So Rafael went to the drum, I picked the bass, and we started playing like that. And we wrote the whole song like that. And then we were like, wouldn't it be cool if we just play like this live as well? And that started the process of, it doesn't really matter when we are writing music, it doesn't really matter who brought the guitar riff idea or who brought the melody idea or the lyrics. It's really a thing we do together, as a entity, like it's bigger than any of us. So to answer your question, it's just so natural. Whoever brings a good guitar riff idea or a good harmony or a good melody, we just take it from there. You know, some songs start with the drum groove, and we're like, hey, this groove is really cool. Let's do something with it. You know.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned because I know, being that Jean Delabella came from Sepultura, it's funny because I didn't know that. I first heard of Ego Kill Talent, like, I think I discovered you guys when you were announced for the Danny Wimmer festivals this year, and I went and checked you guys out, and I noticed that the drums have a very uncanny resemblance to what I heard on the Alex and Cardios on the two Sepultura albums that he was on.
Exactly, yeah.
So, like,
the two that he did, yeah.
which are some of the best post-Cavalera Sepultura albums ever. I'll just say that
I
right.
agree.
Yeah, so when I saw, like, he has such a signature drum sound, when I read it, it didn't surprise me at all that he was in that band.
Oh, that's interesting, man. Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I love those two albums. I agree with you. Probably two of the best albums after the Cavaliers had left. I do like a lot Against, but we still had Igor back then, right? But yeah, cool to hear, man, that you could identify that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say that the song "What I Do" off of Alex, that is the most violent song ever. Like,
yeah, it really is.
I can't get enough of that song. But with like Ego Kill Talent, so it's fair to say that you're never worried about like an Ego Kill Talent song sounding too much like an Ego Kill Talent song, right? That's not even a worry for you guys.
No, man. For us, it's one thing that is a little scary sometimes, but just because we are all as humans, I think we are afraid of what we don't know. But we are so we have like a pact between us, you know. It's like we won't have any kind of prejudice when we are writing new stuff, you know. If something comes that we thought of should have a piano on it, we're gonna use it. If something comes that we think we should have like 3 guitars tuned in A sharp, we're gonna do it, you know. So it's just like we just let it go where the inspiration takes us, you know. And for an artist, this can be scary because you start to build up this identity for the band and you know and for your art. And I think part of the challenge is to allow it to evolve and change as it I don't know, as it goes, you know, because it's like it's a living thing. Mm-hmm. So we try to not put any kind of barriers when we are writing new stuff. If it's gonna sound like we did before and it's true to us, let's do it. If it's gonna be something different, let's try it. You know. Yeah. As long the key thing is it gotta move us. It gotta touch us. It gotta be something that we listen to and we go like, hey, fuck, this really touches me. You know. In any way.
Yeah, and like what's funny is because I feel like you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Your music is very experimental, so I already know that there's going to be like, you know, somebody would say that the music is inconsistent or it's all over the place. But if you did the same thing every time, people are just going to call you repetitive. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. That's it. That's a challenge I think for any band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like what I've noticed is like, especially like with the last full-length album, when you like go to a song like Last Ride versus a song like Still Here or Supplemented or The Searcher or any of those, like there's many different vibes in your songs too. Is it almost fair to say that each song is representative over like an emotion that you are all feeling at that particular time?
Yeah, for sure it goes like that, and it feels like it might sound a little corny, but it feels like this when we are writing a song, it really feels like this song needs to exist and let me help bring it to the world, you know. It's crazy. Like I write a lot of the lyrics and I do this in the process with Jonathan, who is the singer. So we write a lot together and I write a lot of the lyrics, and many times happen that I listened to a song that we wrote, and I go like, "Hey, Jonathan, really like this line," and he goes like, "You wrote that?" And I'm like, "Really? I don't even remember," because it's just like it's like trying to figure a puzzle. You know, when we are writing a song, it's like, okay, how does the pieces fit? You know, it's like it's there. We got to bring it to life. Let's just give our best to make it the best we can. You know.
Is there ever a time where maybe lyrics or a concept can determine the music itself as well? Does that ever help dictate the direction of the song?
Yeah, I think it's actually regarding the lyric themes. I feel like it's more the odd for with us. It's usually more the other way around. We write first the song and the melody, and we feel like which kind of theme should we talk about here? You know, what is the subject for this song? Usually, the song comes first. The music part comes before the lyrics for us.
Mm-hmm. And being that you guys rotate instruments in and out, like let's say a diehard fan, right, got to know you guys individually, would they be able to listen to the album and tell who played what instrument on which song?
That's a very good question. I I don't know. I think drummers might figure who's in the drums because there is it happened. I happened with people say, hey, is Raphael is playing drums in this song, right? And lots of many times people are wrong, but some people can tell. I think drummers might be able to tell easier than guitar players. That's what I think because there is a difference between them. I would say like Raphael, it's more on fire, and Jean is more aggressive. You know, it's something like that.
Yeah, again, Jean was on Alix and Cardios,
Yeah.
so you could tell
Yeah.
he's the more aggressive one.
Totally.
Yep. But what's funny is it almost like rotating with different instruments? When you rotate your instrument, are you almost expressing a different side of yourself in a way? I've always said that a guitar or a drum set or even a microphone is a direct extension of the artist. So do you express a different side of yourself depending on the instrument that you're playing?
Yeah, I feel like in this I play guitar and bass, right? And depending on the song, and I feel more like it gives me an opportunity to experience like being a musician from a different perspective. You know, I feel like when I change instruments on stage, it gives me the chance to experience that concert in a different perspective. But for the songs themselves, it's we talk a lot about this in the band. We feel like we serve the music, and the music is our boss, right? So it comes first, and we in many times when we are writing a song and we're like, okay, maybe for this song, if we change the lineup, it's gonna sound better. So let's do it. So in other words, it's not like I will play the bass here because I want to, or I'll play guitar because I want to, but more like I will play because we're gonna work for this song. You know, if we have this lineup.
Mm-hmm. And it's fair to say, like, you know, obviously not to assume, but every bass player knows how to play some guitar and vice versa. So it can't be
Yes.
too hard to
Yeah.
to switch in and out, right? It's not like 1 minute. It's not
Yeah.
like and no disrespect, but like it almost feels like it's not like you're Dave Grohl all of a sudden, right? Where like
Yeah. I would say the challenge from drums to strings are harder, you know, because basically when you're going from bass to guitar or guitar to bass, you're still playing strings, right? The rules are kind of the same. It does change a little bit, like the grip, you know, and you got to pay attention in different stuff. And it's funny sometimes when I'm on stage and I play like bass in 4 songs in a row, and then I grab the guitar. I mean, because the bass is so much more, it's bigger and it's thicker. When I grab the guitar, it feels like almost I can break it, you know. So there is this kind of, you gotta be a little sensible when you change instruments. But you're right. If you can play guitar and you know the rules there, you kind of can grab the bass and do it there.
Mm-hmm. And like, is it almost because, you know, when you're playing a live show, you know, every second counts. You know you have to go from one song to the next and stuff. I'd almost feel like there's almost like a movement that you have to practice as much as the songs, right? Or like maybe even a choreography.
Definitely do that. Like we try when we write the set list, we try to think and then play like 2 to 3 songs in the same formation, so we don't have to change like for 2 or 3 songs. And then when we have to change how we're gonna do it, I'm gonna walk right, you're gonna walk left. I give you the guitar, you grab the bass. You know, it's like we do rehearsal that. I mean, when we toured with the Foos here in Brazil, we did some staging. It was us, Queens of the Stone Age, and the Foo Fighters. And stage time was something really precious, right? You just got to respect it. So we rehearsed for like 5 or 7 days, like lined up as if we were on stage and totally rehearsing the instrument swapping.
That's pretty awesome. And you guys, Queens of the Stone Age and Foo Fighters, that's what you almost they have to name that. I don't think that was an accident. I call it the alternate, the rotating musicians tour in a way.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny. I haven't thought about that. Yeah, totally.
Like, there's no way in hell. I want to know who that booking agent or that concert promoter was, because there was no doubt in my mind he wasn't thinking about that when booking that tour.
He was looking for it. I don't know, man. It's funny until you brought it up. I never thought about it, but it's totally true. And it was a lot of fun, that tour, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And like you said, so many great musicians in both bands, Queens and the Foos. It was amazing.
And you also opened up for Within Temptation too. Like, that's a very different like type of audience. Have you noticed like a different type of audience that when you're playing in front of them?
Yes, actually, it's funny, when we decided to join the tour. Here's what happened. John Domayo from System of a Down is a very good friend of mine, right? He plays drums in System, and he's a big supporter of the band since we started. Actually, he was the first guy to ever see the band live, and I was talking to him. And I think I was with him when the possibility of playing Within Temptation came up, and it was a very nice tour, nice and big tour in amazing venues in Europe. And then I was with John, and we were like, I don't know if we should do this because you're more like a gothic metal band. We're a different vibe. And he said, that's exactly why you should do it. And I said, why? Why are you saying that? He said, because you're gonna conquer fans that usually you wouldn't, because you wouldn't play with a band like them. So if you tour with a band that sounds more like you, they're gonna hear about you sooner or later. And when you tour with a band that's different from you, you're gonna spread. You're gonna cross over. And he said that's what they did with System of a Down. He said we totally did that with System.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Within Temptation and themselves have actually brought out like a variety of different bands over the years. Like their U.S. tour, they brought out In Flames, like very different vibe. And In Flames played a lot of stuff off of Clayman, so it wasn't like they adjusted their set to that show or anything like that.
Yeah, I love In Flames, by the way, too. Yeah, but you're right. They do bring different artists. For us, it was an amazing experience. We had the great feedback from the crowd, and it feels like whatever crowd we play in front of, we just we turn off the switch of who's the band we are playing with, and this is our show for now. Let's do the best we can, and there are people who are going to like it, there are people who won't, but let's connect to as much people as possible.
Yep. And I have two more questions for you. You ready for the most difficult question of the whole interview? I like to stumble every artist with this.
Okay, go for it.
How do you know when a song is done?
Oh, we never do. It's just like, man, it's still to this day. We just did a live streaming a week ago or maybe 10 days ago. And then Jonathan, the singer, he did something different in a melody from a song from Last Ride, in a song from the first album. And I feel like, shit, that song wasn't finished yet. Because you should have done that melody there. You got to give up, man. When you're writing a song, at some point, you do the best you can. Because the process is like this. You start writing a song, and then you feel like, okay, I feel like we have the structure of the song right there. We're going to have this guitar riff here. We're going to have this harmony, this melody, the lyrics, it's all in here. And then you go to the next one, Then when you enter to the studio to rehearse, to record, sometimes you change stuff. You try something different. You try, okay, let's cut this part in the middle. Let's include this section here. And at some point, you gotta believe in it. You got, okay, I'm feeling great with it. It's touching me. Let's live it like that. You let it go, man.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, because I think if you're working on a song too, obviously you want to take your time with certain stuff. You don't want to half-ass anything. But also, I feel like the longer you work on something, I'd imagine, because I feel like with your music, it really captures a moment. I feel like the longer you work on something, the harder it is to kind of maintain that emotional spark, right?
Yeah, it totally is.
Yep.
And also, one thing that we do sometimes is we write some ideas, like I don't know, some sections for a song. then we let it rest for a while. We let it rest for like a couple weeks, 3 weeks, and then we revisit it. And okay, let's see if this is really good as we thought it was.
Yeah.
And sometimes is, sometimes isn't.
Yeah, that's a very difficult thing for some artists to do, to just put
Yeah.
something down and walk away from it and come back to it later. So if all of you guys could do that, kudos to you.
Yeah, it's hard, but we try to do it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. There are some people who don't even remotely think about that. That's like not even an
Yeah.
option on their table.
Yeah, we always talk like we gotta learn to disattach about ideas, and some songs, just because there's also one thing that we learn in a band where it doesn't matter which instrument are you playing, because here's the thing. Usually, I've been in many bands before this one, right? And usually it's like a line. Like if I play guitar, it's only so much I can suggest about the drum parts, because I'm not a drummer. I mean, let's say you are the drummer. So we kind of respect each other's space, usually, and this can be a mess as well, because sometimes you don't allow it to grow as it could. But in this dynamic that we have here, everyone's totally free to give suggestions in any instrument. So it can be a situation where I'm playing the guitar and Gian it's in the drums, and he just he say, "Okay, can you give me the guitar a second?" And then he just shows me something. Said, "What do you think about playing like this instead?" And I just go like, "That's a great idea. Yeah, I'll do that." And then he goes back to the drum. So it's a different vibe that we learn to disattach from our ideas and our suggestions, and really let's just stay with what sounds better.
That's a great way of putting it. I think that was very articulate. It seems like because you know what you're doing, but you're also open to new ideas. You're willing to come back to it later. It just seems like you have a very organic and songwriting process.
And we all learn, we all grow from it.
Yeah. And before we go, I just want to thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed chatting with you. Is there just anything else with Ego Kill Talent you would like to promote, like when the release day is for the Dance Between Extremes and anything else?
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for having me here. It was great talking to you. Well, first of all, check out the 3 singles we just released, Now, Life Born, and The Call. The plans now are we're going to do a kind of a digital tour. We are working on it. We shot some studio sessions, so watch for it. You're gonna have some like live quarantine material soon, and we're gonna be releasing the second. We slice the album in 3 parts: the dance between, and then the dance between extremes. So we released the dance, which have these 3 songs. We're going to be releasing the dance between towards the end of the year. So I would say around November, December, there's more songs coming out.
Yeah, I really like the presentation of this too.
Cool, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. But thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Ego Kill Talent. New stuff coming very soon. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.